It started with a voice. Not a scream, not a whisper. A voice. Low, patient, familiar in a way that made the skin behind his ears prickle. Follow me. Elias had heard voices before. Grief does that. After the accident took his brother, sound became treacherous. It stretched shadows. It put laughter in the wind. But this was different. This voice was clear, and it came from the woods. The forest behind his grandfather's land had always been strange. The trees grew too close together, leaning like they were listening. No birds ever nested. No footprints ever lasted. Elias had been warned as a child. Don't go past the crooked oak. That's where time forgets you. But grief makes you brave in the wrong ways. He stepped beyond the oak at dusk, flashlight in hand, boots too clean. The voice guided him deeper, and no trail. Just instinct. Just the hush of windless trees. And beneath it, a rhythm, a slow, impossible ticking. Like a clock buried under roots, he didn't feel afraid. Not yet. That came later. He walked for hours. Or maybe minutes. Time began to blur. The sky stayed twilight. The moon never moved. His watch spun like a compass gone mad. And then, he found her. The spirit. She stood barefoot in a clearing of white moss. Her eyes were too wide. Her mouth didn't move. But the voice came from her chest, rippling like sound through water. You followed. Good. Elias tried to speak, but no sound came. She turned, and he followed again. Branches moved for her. Stones shifted. The forest opened. Not forward, downward, into a path carved not by feet, but by memory. He saw things. Not illusions. Impressions. Echoes stuck in the air like fog. His brother, waving from the riverbank the day before he died. His mother, crying in a room he never entered. His childhood dog, barking at something just outside the window. Moments, frozen, waiting. And then, the clearing, circular, surrounded by 12 stone markers, each etched with a symbol he couldn't read. The spirit pointed to the center. Sit. He obeyed. The moss beneath him pulsed, like breath. This is where they come, she said. Who? He finally asked. The ones who were never buried. She pressed her hand to the ground. The air changed. It thickened. And then, the forest remembered. Shadows rose like steam. Figures made of sorrow and soil. Not ghosts. Regrets. One wept without eyes. Another carried their own heart in a jar. One whispered a name over and over until it didn't sound like language. These are the ones left behind by time, she said. Not because they died. Because they were forgotten. Elias trembled. Why am I here? Because you remember. She handed him something small. Cold. A pocket watch. His brother's. It ticked once and stopped. Take it to the center. Wind it. He did, and the forest screamed, not loud. Deep. Like the earth itself gasped. The spirits surged toward him, not to harm, but to be seen. Each touched the watch. Each gave a piece of their time, their stories, their ends. And with every turn of the gears, Elias felt himself unravel. His name stretched, his breath slowed. His body forgot how long it had been alive. You are the witness now, the spirit said. The keeper of lost time. The ones who walk with you cannot leave until they are remembered. He begged her to take it back, but she was already fading. Follow me, she said one last time, and disappeared into the trees. He ran. But the forest did not release him. It bent. It circled. It reset. Every path led back to the clearing. Every watch tick marked a story not his. Elias screamed into the stillness, and only heard the echo of people he never knew, mourning things they never got to say. And then, silence. Not peace. Not mercy. The kind of silence that expects. Saturday he listened, and one by one, he began to speak their names. Each time he did, the forest pulsed. A tree blossomed. A stone cracked. A spirit wept and vanished. This is his life now. He walks the forest, carrying time that is not his own, speaking for the ones who were never spoken for. He is not trapped, he is tasked. And sometimes, late at night, if you walk too close to the crooked oak, you might hear him. Not crying, not screaming, just whispering names you forgot you remembered, because the spirit said, follow me. And he did, into the forest where time doesn't pass, only waits. They thought it was a possession. They were wrong. It began like so many others do, with whispers. Just faint sounds at first. A scrape across the attic floor when no one was up there. The sound of water running when every faucet was dry. Lights flickering in patterns that felt deliberate. But what made the Lovelace family take it seriously was their youngest daughter. She began waking up with dirt on her hands. Every morning, her nails blackened, her fingers trembling. They found her one morning kneeling in the backyard, digging with her bare hands in the cold soil. She was whispering to something in the hole. They asked her what she was doing. She said, feeding it. They moved fast, called the local priest. He came. He prayed. He sprinkled holy water on the windows and left crosses at every doorway. But the night after he left, the crosses fell. All of them, at once, like something had breathed beneath the walls. The father, Daniel, tried to rationalize it. But even he couldn't ignore the dog. A mild-tempered golden retriever who, for 8 years, never barked. It tore through the kitchen one night, snarling at the empty hallway, biting the air like something stood there. It didn't stop until its throat tore open. It bled out silently. And still, the hallway smelled like sulfur and honey. They turned to faith, not for comfort, but for armor. A different priest came, older, wiser. He had eyes that looked through people. He walked the house slowly, barefoot, whispering to the floor. He said, "This is not a demon." Daniel asked, "Then what is it?" The priest said, "A response." They didn't understand. Not until they traced the dreams. Each family member had been dreaming the same thing. A door. Not in their house. In their mind. A door that pulsed, breathed, waited. And in every dream, someone, a voice they trusted, told them not to open it. Until the daughter did. The thing that came wasn't angry. It was curious that it didn't slam or scream. It whispered. It followed. It mirrored. It learned. And then it started talking through them. Not in tongues. In secrets. The daughter told her mother things she could not know. Her husband's betrayal. Her childhood scar. Her hidden fear of drowning. And when her mother asked who told her, she said, "The thing inside the door." The family called for help, not just from priests now, but from anyone who claimed to have power. Psychic mediums, witches, ghost hunters. They all came. And they all left changed. One woman clawed at her own eyes and said, "It doesn't want out. It wants to bring you in." They tried to cleanse the house. Incense, fire, sacred chants. And then the walls began bleeding. Not red, black, thick, like ink that remembered too much. Every family photo distorted. Faces twisted to show expressions they never made. Eyes blacked out. Mouths wide open. Screaming. One by one, the family began to break. The mother stopped sleeping. She claimed she could hear it breathing through her hair at night. The older son tried to set the basement on fire. But when he struck the match, it hissed and went out, underwater. The match was dry. His hands were dry. But the air was wet. Daniel finally begged the priest to return. The old one, the one who knew. The priest stood in the living room and asked to speak to the door. The house fell silent. And then, a crack in the ceiling opened. A voice came out. Soft, gentle, female. It said, "Why did you call me if you were not ready to listen?" Daniel screamed, "You are not welcome here." The voice responded, "I was born here. You moved into my memory." That was the moment they understood. This wasn't a demon. Not from hell. Not from some other realm. It was the soul of the house itself. Not a ghost. A sentience. Formed from pain, from history, from layers of grief left by everyone who ever lived there and left something unfinished. It was not here to torment. It was here to finish what was begun. But the family wasn't ready. They tried to expel it. And the house fought back. Lights exploded. Walls shifted. Doors locked. The youngest daughter was pulled into the crawl space by nothing. They heard her laughing inside the vents, singing a lullaby no one had taught her. They found her 4 hours later, curled in a ball, eyes open, whispering, "She says the house remembers me." The family fled that night, left everything behind. But the story didn't end, because wherever they went, they carried pieces of it with them, not objects. Impressions. The daughter still draws the door. The mother still wakes with dirt in her mouth. Daniel sometimes finds black ink under his nails. In every house they live in, within weeks, begins to whisper. This is not a story about casting out a demon. It's about what happens when you mistake the house itself for something evil, when all it ever wanted was to be remembered, when all it ever needed was someone to finally listen. They say mirrors reflect truth, but not all truths are meant to be seen. Not all reflections show what you are. Some show what waits beneath. That IT was found in a sealed room under a burned-down orphanage on the edge of town. The building had been condemned for decades, reduced to scorched brick and ivy. But when they rebuilt the library across the street, they unearthed the stairwell, and at the bottom, the mirror. No dust, no decay, just standing there, intact. Like time had been afraid to touch it, they moved it. Of course they did. Humans always move the thing they should leave buried. It ended up in a collector's private gallery. He specialized in haunted objects, but most of his pieces were stories stitched to antiques. Drama for the wealthy. A game. Until the mirror, he placed it in a room by itself, surrounded by velvet ropes. But every morning, the ropes were cut, and the room smelled like burnt feathers. Security footage showed nothing, except one frame. A blink of black static. And in that single frame, a silhouette. Not his, not human. He called in an expert, not a priest. A rememberer. Someone who studied places where memory got stuck, where the world warped to hold emotion like a bruise. She came with salt, iron, and gloves. She didn't last 20 minutes. She looked into the mirror once and collapsed. Heart still beating, breath still moving. But her eyes never blinked again. They said she saw something true. They said her soul recognized it. After that, no one touched the mirror. But it still moved, a few inches at a time, always toward light. And then the dreams began. People who had walked past it, even once, began dreaming of reflections. But not their own. Versions of themselves twisted by choices they never made. Regrets they never voiced. One woman dreamed of herself covered in ash, whispering to children who had no faces. Another saw himself buried alive beneath his childhood home, clawing at dirt that turned to glass. It found me too. I didn't go looking for it. It came looking for me. I was drawn to the gallery. A pull in my ribs. A scent like rain on stone. I stood before it, heart racing, throat dry. And I saw myself. But not me. Not the version I pretend to be. Not the mask I wear for the world. It showed me what I had buried. Every lie I told to protect someone. Every moment I chose silence over courage. Every time I looked away when someone needed saving. It showed me the version of me that knew better and did nothing. And then, it opened. Not like a door. Like a wound, the glass rippled. My reflection reached out. Not to harm. To merge. I ran. Of course I did. But it left something behind. A whisper in my bones. A hum beneath my heartbeat. A feeling that at any moment, I might see myself again. The real me, staring back with eyes that know too much. And then came the others. The ones who looked too long. They started changing, subtle at first. Different speech patterns. New allergies. A left-handed woman suddenly favoring her right. One man forgot his wife's name, but remembered the smell of a war he'd never fought. One girl stopped casting a reflection at all. She said it was because her mirror self hadn't returned yet. Some people vanished, not physically, spiritually, like their souls had been replaced. Their eyes became glassy, their responses automatic. And when you called their names, they hesitated before answering. I went back. I needed to know what it wanted. The gallery was locked, but the mirror was waiting. Alone. No ropes. No guards. I looked again, and this time, I didn't see myself at all. I saw everyone I had ever hurt, their pain, their rage, their disappointment, woven into one shape. A version of me that wasn't monstrous, but honest, and it spoke, not in words. In knowing. It said, I am not your punishment. I am your invitation. Because the mirror doesn't curse you. It offers you a choice. Embrace what you are. Or keep pretending you never saw it. Most run. Most deny. Most spend the rest of their lives haunted by the moment their soul tried to speak. But some step through. They vanish from the world above. But they don't die. They become watchers, reflections for others to meet, guides for those brave enough to face themselves. And I think I'm next. Because every mirror I pass flickers now. Every puddle shivers when I speak. And last night, I saw my reflection turn away before I did. If you ever find that mirror, the one that shows you your soul, don't ask what's inside it. Ask if you're ready to become what you see. They said it needed a blessing. That was the word the realtor used. Said the previous owners left in a hurry. Said the neighbors wouldn't even walk their dogs past the front gate. Said the house held on to things. She didn't say what things, but it didn't matter. Because Thomas believed in calling darkness by name. He wasn't just a priest. He was a purifier. The kind the church didn't advertise. The one they called when scripture failed and the air refused to breathe. He wore his collar like a weapon. His Bible wasn't for comfort. It was for war. When he arrived, the house didn't look evil. That was the first mistake. Evil doesn't advertise that it was too quiet. The kind of quiet that hurts your ears. Dust floated sideways. Time stuttered. The walls sweated even though it was winter. And the house had breath. You could feel it under your feet. Thomas opened the door without knocking. The crucifix he placed above the threshold split down the center before his second step. He set up holy water in every room. Lit blessed incense. Walked from corner to corner, reciting rites older than the language he spoke them in. The house listened at first. The walls groaned at the sound of the psalms. A mirror cracked when he named Christ. A floorboard sighed when he whispered Michael, but it didn't resist. Not yet. That night, he slept in the living room. No furniture, just a thin mattress, his Bible, and a bell on a string. If it rang, he'd know something had moved in the dark. It rang, but not like it was shaken, like it was struck. From below, he didn't open his eyes. He prayed harder, louder, poured salt in a circle around his body. But the floor beneath him thumped, not footsteps. A heartbeat. The next morning, he found all the pages in his Bible blank. Just paper. The ink was gone. As if it had been drunk. He walked the house again and noticed things he hadn't before. Every window showed the house from a different angle. One showed it as it was 20 years ago. One showed it on fire. One didn't show it at all. The bathroom mirror showed him asleep. Even when he was awake, the walls had begun to change. Bulge. Flex. Like they were listening. Like they were remembering. He went to the basement. Of course he did. That's where the wound was. The stairs didn't creak. They breathed. The air smelled of copper and wet wood. Of memory left too long in the dark. At the bottom, he found a door. No handle. No hinges. Just wood and breath. He laid a hand on it and felt himself. His worst memory. A girl. The one he couldn't save. The one who spoke in tongues and bled from the eyes. The one who smiled as she leapt from the rooftop. He never told anyone about her. The door showed him her smile. Life-size. Moving. He fell to his knees. You came to cleanse. The voice said. It came from everywhere. From the beams. From the nails. From inside his chest. But you never came to heal. The house didn't need cleansing. It needed confession. It made him see every exorcism he botched. Every prayer he used as punishment. Every time he screamed the name of God louder than the name of the person in pain. It didn't want his rights. It wanted his truth. And so he gave it. Tears. Blood. Breath. He recited every name he failed. Every doubt he buried beneath ritual. And with each word, the walls pulled tighter, like they were feeding, until the door opened, and the house let him in, not the basement itself. The rooms turned inside out. Hallways stretched into corridors that led to memories he didn't know he still carried. He walked through his mother's funeral. His first lie. The night he almost drowned. The night he wanted to die. Every horror he denied was now wallpaper. And in the center of the house, a mirror, not glass. Water, still black. Endless. Step in, the house said. And he did. The water swallowed him. Not drowning. Cleansing. He saw the girl again. The one he lost. She took his hand and whispered. It was never about banishing evil. It was about understanding it. He woke up on the front lawn 3 days later. Hair white. Voice changed. Bible still blank. But his eyes had seen the inside of the house. And now, wherever he goes, people say their rooms feel warmer after he leaves. Children stop screaming. Walls stop whispering. Not because he cast anything out, but because he let it in. and let it teach him. He was sent to cleanse the house, but the house cleansed him.